In this video tutorial we're going to fake the tilt-shift effect that you get with specialist lenses like the Lens Baby, and that allows you to tilt the lens in relation to the camera to create selective focused areas, and you end up with something like this. You've got blur here and blur here, but the middle range is actually sharp, and that makes the shot look like a model. It turns people and objects into toys, because that's the kind of selective focus effect you get if you shot a scale model for real. So we can fake that in Photoshop by opening a file like this, lots of detail to play with, and it's called TiltShift. So the first thing to do is to duplicate this background layer, and we can do that by dragging it to the Create New Layer icon like so. Then to blur it, to create the selective focus effect, we'll go to Filter, and we'll use a blur filter. Gaussian blur is very good. Click there, and use a value of around about 20 pixels or so to get a nice soft look to the layer, and then click OK to apply the blur. So there's our background copy, it's blurred, and there's our sharp foreground. We need to blend the two layers together to create the tilt shift effect. Now the quickest way to blend those two shots together isn't necessarily the best, but I'll show you in case you're in a rush. There's the eraser tool, 1100 pixels is big enough, and then you can just click and spray, and you've got a nice blend between the foreground and the background. That gives you a tilt shift effect quite quickly. I've just pressed Ctrl Z to undo that effect, because what you can do is hold Shift down to draw a straight line. Click, holding Shift, and then click again, and you get a perfectly straight line between those 2 points. So if you need a more accurate straight line with the eraser, that's one way of doing it. Ctrl Z to undo that. The problem with using the eraser is it's very destructive. It doesn't give you creative control over the effect. Once you've erased something, it's gone. So what you can do instead is create a layer mask and make more intuitive and free choices. Let me show you what I mean by clicking here. Go to Levels, click OK, drag Levels below background copy, and clip the Levels mask to the background copy layer by moving between the two and pressing Alt, and you get this little clipping icon. Click like that, and then now clip together. You can now do some non-destructive editing by clicking on the mask, grabbing the gradient tool, choosing a reflected gradient, and clicking reverse, and then just click and drag on the mask, and you get a black and white gradient. The black bit punches a hole through the layer, and you get this selective tilt shift effect, and you can then change it at any time just by dragging it at a different angle to try and get the best effect you like. So it's non-destructive, and you've got much more creative control using this technique. So I'm going to try and get the background appear blurred and the foreground a little bit more clear, so a longer gradient will do that, and also I can change the angle to something like this. So keep experimenting until you're happy, and then you've got this effect here. You can turn the mask on and off to see the original and then the change. So that's the joy of using layer masks. It allows you to do non-destructive editing, and it's much more powerful than using the eraser. Real tilt-shift lenses are very hit and miss. It's a very difficult job to get exactly the effect that you want, whereas in Photoshop you can do exactly what you want using layer masks and the gradient tool.